Hello and welcome to the latest episode of this week's Acca. Joe, Jimmy and Gab joining you to preview a weekend of FA Cup action and the EFL. No Premier League this week. We're looking to get back to winning ways. Went kind of close last week, not that close. Very close to a 40-1 winner 2 weeks ago. Remember, this is a podcast for 18s and over. Please gamble responsibly, and if you haven't already, like and follow us on social media. It's This Week's Acca and Sporting Life Football on TikTok, YouTube and Instagram. Right, guys, I mean, you can reflect a little bit on last week. Have you got the old comments up, Jimmy? That's kind of your job now, isn't it? You've stumbled into.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a big responsibility.
There's other reasons that we have you on the podcast as well, but you are very good at reading the comments.
It's tough as well, because what you have to do, you have to go on the YouTube video and then copy them.
That's it.
To a Word document.
Yeah.
And then read them.
So, top of my head, and this really is top of my head. So last week, Port Vale won.
Thank you.
Well done, Gab. AFC Wimbledon were winning until moments to go in the game. 2-0 up, and then somehow contrived to draw 2-2.
Idiots.
Which just shows, we'll come on to this later in the show, the pressure of the League 2 promotion race. And Peterborough battered Charlton 3-0.
Who saw that? Well, we can take some comfort in the fact that
nobody saw that coming.
Nobody saw that coming.
So, it's just one of those things, I guess. We nobody saw it coming at all. Never mind. That was last week's podcast. And how did our faithful YouTube subscribers subscribe? Please click the subscribe button. Subscribe.
You're supposed to say smash the subscribe button.
Is it?
Smash the subscribe button. Don't forget to drop us a like and a comment.
So what did the subscribers or non-subscribers comment?
Well, the slate was tricky.
It really was. There were barely any
really
fixtures
was.
last week.
Like, what was it? 18, I think, off the top of my head, plus the non-league. But Connor Harding, he said, best of luck with this week, boys. And then this is his Acca that he went for. Boston, lost. Wimbledon, drew. Barnet won. Chesterfield drew. Charlton lost. And I just think that really underpins.
Barnet were a 5:30 game, because we chatted about that last week and we were like, well, it's 5:30, so
illegal.
We're going to break the law by putting that in.
Honourable mention, though, because you did want them in and they won.
Yeah, so, thanks for that. I appreciate that, actually, because usually you're bad on people trumpeting themselves.
Also, Joe, I've got to give you some credit for vetoing Bristol Rovers' shout, because Scott Lindsay was appointed Crawley manager the day after we recorded it, so and I wouldn't have wanted to have opposed Crawley with Scott Lindsay back. So
how did you know?
We dodged a few bullets last week, I'm going to be honest. We really did, because there were some games that were actually postponed quite late for international call-ups as well, where I was digging into the research on Monday and Tuesday, and there were some issues with fixtures pulling through properly on gambling sites to say that the matches had been postponed. So, by more luck than judgment, we actually came very close to including a game that never was going to happen. So that just shows how fortunate we were on a very skinny slate last week. Yeah. Less said the better about last week. Those skinny international break slates are tricky. Even though we did have a winner in it early in the season, then you're really hoping for a lot of fortune.
Well, there's a point on this in the comments. Bolton C, he thinks he's got a good suggestion. He says, do us a favour, lads, when it's international week and a reduced slate, don't bother guessing. Just have the week off. Or close your eyes and pick. ... Love the show.
Cheers for that.
But a week off in international break.
Just because it's a small slate doesn't mean we can't do a bit of mining.
Yeah, true, mate. True. Right, let's move on from last week anyway. And then the only thing on the international break was, England were in action. Thomas Tuchel started his reign. We'll move quickly on from that. Could never really learn that much from those matches against very poor international nations who want to put everybody behind the ball. Won both games, didn't concede a goal. That's it. Very exciting week of football now, though. Starting with an FA Cup quarter-final that has only got one team in the last 8 that has won the FA Cup in the last 65 years.
Wow.
So that is pretty cool, right?
Someone's been doing their research.
Oh, I have, yeah. Trumpeting my FA Cup preview piece on sportinglife.com. But that is pretty exciting, surely, for lovers of the FA Cup.
Yeah, and it feels like domestic cups are on the up. With Newcastle breaking their 70-year duck. As you say about there's only one team who's won the FA Cup in the quarterfinals. It feels like after the powers that be, top six, trying their best to kibosh all these lovely domestic competitions. It feels nice that it's not the same. The usual suspects are in with a chance of winning the FA Cup, which is nice. But the ties, we can't go near the FA Cup, can we? Because of the stupid kick-off times.
I'm primarily focused on the EFL on this podcast. Shout out to Preston, who'll be trying to upset Aston Villa on Sunday. What chance do we think they've got?
Well, Aston Villa still very much prioritising the Champions League and the Premier League, so you'd imagine there might be a weakened team. So yeah, I think Preston North End have got an outside shout. I like Paul Heckingbottom, the manager they've got there, and yeah, hopefully they, as a Birmingham City fan, they can cause a bit of an upset.
Yeah. Heckingbottom took Sheffield United to semi-finals not so long ago, and it feels like Emery's fell into the quarter-final because he fucking hates domestic English Cup competition.
Lost 2-1 to Stevenage in 2023.
I remember.
So, you say that,
Evans.
but he has changed his attitude a bit this season, and I do wonder, just to your point, Jimmy, about the established Big Six, they're seemingly taking their eye off the ball when it comes to the domestic cups, that whether he's seen there's an opportunity for Villa to win the first major trophy for 29 years because they played a really strong team against Tottenham in the last round and a really strong team against West Ham in the previous round, where everybody thought he's just going to play a weak team and get out of the cup here. So yeah, he's perhaps changed his view of it when last year they got in the Champions League, but then they lost in the semi-finals of the Conference League. So it can all just quickly fall apart in Europe very, very fast like that. On to the EFL then. So we're resuming after an international break. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity, and this will feed into us doing primarily our job on this podcast, picking an Acca. Just to have a quick little look at the state of play in each division. And the Championship to begin with, nice clean table to look at, that everybody having played 38.
Oh, I like it like that. I'd rather have those games rather than
goodness.
Games in hand and working out where teams are at on points per game. Much rather a nice clean table.
That is really, really nice for my attention to detail, that, I tell you. So, 8 games to go. How are we feeling about how things are? I'll give a quick rundown. So, top 3, Leeds and Sheffield United both on 80 points. Burnley 78 points. Then it's a big gap. Sunderland 69, they're finishing in the playoffs. And then it's a battle between Coventry, 59 points. West Brom and Bristol City on 57. Middlesbrough on 54. Blackburn and Watford on 52. Then if anybody else is getting into the playoffs, you're going to need a serious run, really. Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday on 51. Everybody else out of it.
Yeah. I think it's very much a 3-horse race in terms of the automatics, and I think it's tightening up in terms of the playoff scramble as well, in the sense that Sunderland, like you say, they're nailed on. I actually think Coventry and West Bromwich Albion have put themselves in very good positions to finish in the top 6. Bristol City on paper are only just outside. Middlesbrough a little bit of a 3-point gap. Beyond that, you're talking like a bit of a serious run is going to be required. So I think I see Coventry and West Bromwich Albion finishing the top 6.
As it is.
I think it's going to finish as it is, yeah.
Shit.
You sound very surprised about that, Jimmy.
No, I think you're a brave man trying to call the playoff scramble. I love it. Playoff scramble, that's a great phrase. But obviously Blackburn falling like a stone. Watford been punching well above their weight. No, what do you rate Sheffield Wednesday's chances? What are they? 6 points off.
I think they're going to meander into mid-table because I think the end of the season is going to be overshadowed by Danny Röhl, and is he going to leave for Southampton? There's been heavy links with that, so I'm not sure Sheffield Wednesday are going to put the run required to get into the top 6.
Yeah, and you'd be a brave man to try and call the promotion race. Gun to your head. Who are you actually saying? Top 2?
Leeds and Burnley.
You dickhead. Why does no one think Sheffield United are going to do it? We've been top at league without a deduction.
Because you're one of the people who's been saying it all season. We can't keep getting away with playing rubbish.
But you know what?
Yeah, but
We have done for 8 months, so
you're allowed to say it.
I'm allowed to say it.
But nobody else
Sheffield
is.
United fan, yeah.
So who's your top 2?
United win the league and then don't care about anything. I'd be really scared if we dip out, finish 3rd by about 12 points, going into lottery. Ooh.
A real complaint from producer Dom here for you to refer to them as United when there's a Leeds United up there as well.
United. We're the original United, I think.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, look that up. Yeah, it's looking like a real bum fight, isn't it? The one team I would say are worth looking out for are Middlesbrough. Because they have constantly been like this all season. And at the moment, they're on a good run of form. And as we know, for the playoffs, it's just all about pacing your effort. And it really doesn't matter like what went before. So if they have now flipped round to be pacing it well, Carrick, when we were on this podcast, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were saying, unless they turn this form around basically this weekend, feels like he's under serious pressure to potentially lose his job. They turn their form around and now they're 3 points outside the playoffs. So they've got the squad to finish in the top 6. So I just think they're the one team that are worth keeping an eye on for the rest of the season. Bottom of the table?
Oh, that's what I'm interested in. One thing on Carrick, I found it really interesting when he was under the Kosher bait. He's usually as level-headed as it can be. He got a bit of edge to him. Come out swinging in a few press conferences, and I like that. Yeah, I think the line can be drawn. Officially, the line's drawn at Preston on 47. They're 150 to 1 to go down. They're the longest price of anyone. But realistically, well, based on Derby averaging a point per game, you'd think the line might be somewhere around 49 points, potentially. 50 points for safety. I
actually think it might be quite a high points tally required to stay up, because I think Derby County are going to put together, well, they have already put together a run. So I think Derby County get out of it. And actually, I think if the points per game is 1 point per game to stay up, or just over, at this stage of the season, I expect that to increase between now and the end of the season. And I think it probably will be, 50 plus, because of the likelihood of teams that are fighting down the bottom picking up some points. I think Luton are going to put a run together as well, actually.
Well, they have got, 7 points from the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Performances like against your lot, Luton Town weren't bad. Like
better than us
for large bet, exactly. Yeah, Sheffield United just lucky. No, but I think Luton, I think they've improved performance-wise recently, so I think there's a chance Luton can get out of it and maybe suck in the likes of Stoke and Cardiff.
And Swansea.
Swansea, what are they on? 44.
Yeah.
They might just have, I think they've put themselves in a good position, 6-point gap. It's not just the points as well, it's the number of teams between them and the drop zone. Maybe Swansea will be okay.
Go on then.
Well, I've been having a look. Assuming the points line is 50, but you think it's going to be higher. Brilliant.
I think it could be. Yeah, I think it's going to be 50 plus.
So, since the turn of the year, Swansea have been dropping like a stone. I think it's only Luton who've taken less points than them in 2025. I think about 14 games. And Swansea have got they've got 8 games left. 4 of them against teams below them. They head to Ellen Road this weekend. And they've also got to go to Sunderland. They've got Hull to play, Plymouth to play, Luton to play, I think, and Oxford on final day. And they've been averaging less than a point per game for like 3 months now. And they're 80 to 1 to go down. And I've had a punt on that. But I think you might get a run. You look at the teams below, and Portsmouth too good at home. Hull have been absolutely brilliant undersellers. Then you look at Stoke, they've got a bit of a young squad. I think they're in trouble. Cardiff, I don't know enough about. And then Luton and Derby are picking up points. I thought Luton were brilliant before international break against Borough. Genuinely could have been 4 or 5 up in the first half.
I think Cardiff go, and I think possibly one other, because I think there's a chance that Derby and Luton both stay up, despite both being in the relegation zone right now.
I just really hope them two make a fist of it.
It's all going to come down to that Easter weekend, isn't it? You think that it is very, very possible you get a 6-point swing over that weekend, because the Championship, as has been shown, Leeds losing away at Portsmouth, that any team can beat any team.
Yeah.
And then Plymouth winning at Portsmouth a few days later. So it's going to come down to that Easter weekend. On the points itself, if people are looking to get against a team who are a little further up the league, like Jimmy's back in Swansea to get relegated, there was a season, it's a good few years ago now, so 2012-13, where
Wolves went down with 54 points.
So Wolves went down with 51. Peterborough went down with 54. And that was because Barnsley and Peterborough got on a phenomenal run just in the latter part of the season. So I don't think that is a big outlier. I think there's been one or two other seasons. Obviously, I know about it because of Barnsley being involved in it. Because the Championship has so many similarly matched teams, the 50-point thing doesn't particularly apply in that league. That it is a general rule, but teams can just gather momentum and win 5 or 6 games.
I think the 16-17 season might have been similar as well, because Blackburn went down on the final day of that season, despite having put together a really healthy run of points under Tony Mowbray that year. So I've got a feeling we might be on for something similar. This doesn't feel like a Championship season where the bottom three's cut adrift and it looks inevitable for the whole season. So I think, if it's 1 point per game at the moment, I think that's going to increase, and I think you're looking at 50 plus.
The final point on it, just for last season, for a little bit of a more recent example, then these are the teams that finished in the bottom 5. So Sheffield Wednesday, 20th. They won their last 3 games and drew the 2 matches before that. Plymouth to finish 21st, won 2 of the last 4 matches. Birmingham relegated despite winning 2 and drawing 2 of the last 4 matches. So that just shows you the form of the teams at the bottom. 17th Stoke, won 3, drawn 1 in the last 4. 18th QPR won the last 3. Blackburn 19th, won 3, drew 1, lost 1 of the last 4 matches. So it is really not a division where you can just bank on the fact that everybody in the bottom 8 are going to keep losing. It is utterly bizarre as a league. Yeah. So it makes it particularly hard to bet on match to match in the closing.
But that's where I think, Joe, you've got to kind of flip the way that you look at it from, I think, February onwards. There's a bit of a shift where instead of looking at team of they're down the bottom, they're therefore bad, therefore they're likely to lose the game, actually they're down the bottom, therefore they've got something immediately pressing to play for, and therefore there's actually more at stake for them, and it could motivate them. So I think that's how we've got to look at it at this stage.
So on that point, let's stick with the Championship. What do we have in the Championship for this weekend?
I think Portsmouth to beat Blackburn at 13-10 is a fantastic bet because of Portsmouth's exceptional home form. I know they've lost to Millwall and Plymouth Argyle since November. They beat Preston 3-1 on the 9th of November. Since then, they've only lost 2 home games, and the Plymouth Argyle game was a bit of a smash and grab as well. And they've also won, I think they might have drawn with Burnley in that time as well, but they've beaten Leeds, so they've got an excellent home record, and they're facing a Blackburn Rovers side that don't seem to have adjusted so well to losing John Eustace and Valerian Ismail coming in. So yeah, Portsmouth at 13-10 I think is a huge price, and I'm going with the Fratton Park factor based on the fact that Portsmouth still have some points to tick off to make sure they retain their divisional status.
I love it. Nothing really to add apart from Blackburn have been crap for a while now. Like, falling like a stone. Not really a surprise with Eustace leaving. But last 8 games, 7 points over that period. Only Oxford have taken less.
Yeah, 100% on board with this. Would have been my number 1 pick. Portsmouth I've just gone on about all season. I've got that bet that's in play for them to finish in the top half after they had that awful start, purely based on very unfortunate.
Remind me what price you got for that, Joe?
Can you remember, Jim? Is it 16 to 1 to finish in the top half? which is going to go close, I think. But on the Blackburn point, so
Is it going to go close?
it is based on the do you know the points per game that they've got since that start of the season. So but more to the point on Blackburn. So Blackburn have lost 4 of their last 5, with the one exception being a draw against Norwich, where Norwich dominated the game and then just naively started trying to pass the ball around at the edge of their own half and conceded out of nowhere in the 95th or 96th minute, Andy Vyman. So they are in big, big trouble. But yeah, for me, that's definitely going in. So in a slight change to convention where we would usually be like, that's our first pick, it definitely is. Do we have anything else in the Championship that anybody wants to put up while we're on it?
Yeah, I've got one from the other end. Burnley. They were 3-4. Come on! Well, 3-4 at home to Bristol City. I was telling someone yesterday, obviously Bristol City, slight concern because they're good enablers under Manning against the big boys, particularly possession-based sides. But on a slate that looks a little bit tricky, Burnley was one of the standout prices, and it's mainly because of the January acquisition of what's he called? Marcus Edwards. It seems to have just greased the wheels of a stodgy attack, because Burnley's defence is unbelievable. Like, they've already set the record for the most clean sheets, haven't they? They look like they're going to smash the record for fewest goals conceded, and now they've added some real attacking flair to, as I say, what was a pretty stodgy attack. The goals are coming more freely, and I think they're just going to outclass Bristol City, although they might make it difficult. And potentially on a really healthy slate, this might not get in, but I just think with the options available, the price is good enough, and the form has been brilliant since Edwards come in.
Just another pick. The Burnley win to nil is obviously a very old, reliable bet. If it's 10-13, I've got a better price at the moment. It's probably going to be close to evens, or it's going to be possibly odds against for Burnley to win to nil. So that could be looking like a nice bet as well for those who want to go outside the Acca.
Nice. Yeah, this is another one I had down. And just on Jimmy's point about the difference that Burnley's January acquisitions have made, Marcus Edwards 100%, because it's, quite frankly, it's outrageous that they managed to sign him from Sporting. It's ridiculous. So if you look at Burnley's results, where they were struggling to score at all, so they had the bizarre 5-0 win away at Plymouth, but either side of that, then they had a 0-0 draw with Sunderland, then 2 more 0-0 draws after it. 1-0, 1-0 away at Southampton in the Cup, which was a Marcus Edwards winner. But then since that game in the league, then scored 2. There is a 0-0 one.
Edwards were on the bench for that.
We'll let him have that because it's a derby. Scored 2, scored 4, scored 2, scored 4, scored 1, scored 2. This is a team that were scoring 1 at best to win matches. It has made an enormous, enormous difference to them.
And then now there's 2 reasons to back Burnley. It's their defensive resilience and the fact they're in good goal-scoring form. So, it works either way.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on board with it. So those 2, at the moment, it's a great start. Then with Sky Bet, it's just a shade under 3-1. First that we've got in top price, it's above 3-1.
Lovely.
As a double. Producer Dom's going to be fuming that I'm not doing the this week's Acca locked in. I'm gonna keep rolling with the Championship, and I would say even if we get some in, doesn't mean that we can't take them out later on if we go down the leagues and we find some better ones. So, any more in the Championship?
No, those are the only ones I would go with in the Championship.
Okay, we're absolutely certain. I can see.
Well, first glance, it's really short. But when I was looking at the trickiness of the slate, I didn't know about just chucking Leeds in at 1-4. Touched on Swansea's really, really poor form since the turn of the year, and Leeds are without doubt the best team in the division. Away from home, is where they've been slipping up, and that's been under Farke as far back since he took charge at Ellen Road. And I don't know why that is, because they're just as good at away from home as they are at home. But best underlying data in every sense, isn't it? XG conceded. If they had a half competent keeper, if they had Michael Cooper in their net, Leeds would be, I'd say, 10 points clear. Yeah. They'd be long gone, and that's why it's a cracking title race. But I just didn't know. Now we've got some nicer prices. I don't know if it's worth putting Leeds in at 1-4 because it is short. And is it worth the jeopardy?
Yeah, I don't think it's too short. Like, I really don't, because, I mean, if we get another 10 minutes along in the podcast and we're like, maybe we could cut ourselves down to like a treble or a fourfold or whatever, then maybe. But I look at that price and I think, why is it not short? I mean, we've already gone into how much Swansea are struggling at the moment. And Leeds, the little run of fixtures they had before the international break, we were all talking about in the office, they were their final few fixtures that were tricky. They're out of the way now, and they've got a really, really straightforward fixture list for the rest of the season. And all throughout this season, when they've played a poor team at home, they have obliterated them. And now they're playing a team that are on a terrible run of form. When they played Burnley the other day, they got battered at home, didn't they? Personally, I would have it in. The only other one that I would actually be railing against if somebody tried to put it in is that Middlesbrough to beat Oxford at 1-2, because Middlesbrough just very unreliable generally, but also against teams that come and sit in a low block. They have historically struggled under Michael Carrick.
Joe, also Gary Rowett is the opposite. He's a very reliable manager.
Yeah.
Gary Rowett teams don't lose many matches in the Championship, so I wouldn't want to bet on Middlesbrough. Bet against Oxford at such a short price. 11-20 is the best price that I can see. It's too short for me.
So if for now we said that we were going to put Leeds in, then that would take us to a treble of 4-1, and then we could always take it out.
Okay, I'm willing to go with that.
Samesies.
Okay, so having looked at the Championship, we've got 3 selections for this week's Acca, and we're now going to focus on League 1 and League 2, having a look at the situation, promotion, relegation in those leagues, as well as seeing what we can put in the Acca. So our first 3 selections for this week's Acca are Portsmouth to beat Blackburn, Burnley to beat Bristol City, and Leeds to beat Swansea, and that's coming in at just above 4-1. Okay, we're going to skip through League 1 and actually look at League 2 first, because our producer Dom is a Bradford fan. I'm not sure he could wait for us to talk about the top 2 EFL leagues first. He would be itching to hear about whether we think, or particularly Gab thinks, Bradford are going to get promoted. And then we'll go back to the third tier. So, this is what it looks like at the minute. It looks like nobody wants to get promoted, especially Walsall. So Walsall, having been streets clear at the top, 70 points, still leading, a point behind a Bradford, then a 5-point gap to Wimbledon and Port Vale, then Doncaster on 63 points with a game in hand, crucially, Notts County on 62 points, 3-point buffer to Grimsby, who take up the final playoff place, then only another point to Colchester and Crewe, and then you think, oh yeah, that's it.
It's not,
But
is it?
5 points, game in hand for Salford. Further point, Chesterfield, game in hand. And ever since Paul Cook said, that's it, season's gone, in the bin. We might as well just pack up, focus on next season. Chesterfield have turned the form around. And, I mean, they were brilliant by all accounts last weekend. And deserved to win by a lot of goals. And then at the bottom, I mean, Carlisle are just scrapping away, but both teams are adrift. Morecambe 30, Carlisle 31, then 6 points to Tranmere. I mean, it's got to be 2 of those 3, but in all likelihood, it's going to be the bottom 2.
Well,
that Carlisle win, they're
yeah.
only 3 points behind.
But what I would say, Joe, as well, is it's for Carlisle and Morecambe, it's not just the gap to Tranmere that's the problem, because Tranmere, they're unbeaten in 5 under Andy Crosby since he replaced Nigel Adkins, and it was more of a cultural thing at Tranmere that seems to have been fixed recently. So I would say, actually, if let's say we're taking Morecambe's position, I think Harrogate Town is actually more catchable for Morecambe than Tranmere, because Morecambe play Harrogate Town on the final day. So if they can maybe, gain, let's say, 9 points on them between now and
7 points, though, isn't it? I mean, that is so much.
But this is what I'm saying. So I mean, I think it's more likely that Morecambe gain 9 points on Harrogate between now and the final day when they play them, and hope that they win, than they actually gain 8 points on Tranmere between now and the end of the season, or 7 points and end up with a better goal difference. Yeah. Just because I don't think Tranmere are going to lose the games that's needed. So I think it's the gap to Tranmere, but it's also the gap to Acca, Stanley and Harrogate, who I think might be more catchable in terms of, losing games between now and the end of the season. It might be more likely to plummet. But so yeah, I think it might be a bridge too far.
Yeah.
What about Carlisle though?
Boy, are they trying. I bet they just wish they could have got Mark Hughes in about a month earlier, because they would have made a real fist of it. They were brilliant. Who did they play? Not MK Dons, before MK Dons. Bromley. They were unbelievable. They should have been out of sight. But I think they hit the bar twice at least. They missed They missed a pen. Missed a few good chances. Got ahead with a deflected goal. And Bromley had one cleared off the line and a few big chances. So I feel like that's the bit of their season in a nutshell, and they're certainly showing loads of fight. But I bet they wish they got Mark Hughes in about 4 games earlier. But I was going to ask you, Gab, do you think it's too much for Morecambe and Carlisle? But you answered yes. They're down basically.
Yeah, I'm also really interested at the top end of League 2, because there seems to be this theme where nobody actually, down to Notts County in 6th, nobody's in form. So it's a really weird situation where they're all in that automatic promotion race, but none of them would say they've got loads of momentum, other than arguably Bradford, but even them had lost, back-to-back games before thumping Colchester. They're probably the closest thing to a form team.
Just on his point on Carlisle.
Sure.
And is it over though? I mean, you look at Carlisle's recent results, and this is after a couple of games to get going, but draw, win, draw, and then this is the absolute killer: the fact that they lost in the 95th minute to an own goal away at Harrogate. So that has flipped the points, and then another defeat at home to Wimbledon, but then win against Bromley, draw against MK Dons. If they carry on the trajectory of points per game that they're getting under Mark Hughes, they will stay up. Like, they will get enough points to stay up. So it looks like, the gap's big, but they had barely any points. They were so far adrift. So is it really over for them? Morecambe are on a bad run. They don't look like they're gonna.
Well, Morecambe are alive and kicking as well. I saw them at Port Vale. They were very unlucky not to get something.
Well, they didn't. Like, it's a currency of points, isn't it? And Port Vale, that is their MO, isn't it? They just dig out narrow wins all season.
Yeah.
So writing it off for Carlisle feels probably premature from our perspective at this point.
So how many points do you think Carlisle can end up on?
Well, Carlisle are averaging a point a game under Mark Hughes, but if you exclude the 2 defeats at the first, it's a little bit over that. So even with that, they'd be lucky to get 41. And the 2 Tranmere, not Tranmere, so you were saying Harrogate and Accrington.
Yeah, they're already on 41 points.
But Tranmere and Accrington are as far away from Morecambe, 11 points, and them 2 are 11 points off the top half. It seems like a big ask. I'm just looking at Carlisle's fixtures. Donny this weekend. Donny, like, a weird quirk of their results is they just batter bottom half teams at home. Chelsea picked up. They've got Newport at home, which is a good and a massive game against Morecambe, middle of April, and then they've got Vale, Accrington, massive game, Cheltenham, nothing to play for, and then Salford, which could be a massive game at both ends.
I mean, to be fair, those last 3 games, I would say, look relatively favourable, because if you can win at Accrington, you've got a chance to lure them in, gain points on a relegation rival. Cheltenham, I think, will be mid-table and spoken for by that point, and then you've got Salford City again, who I think are going to be out of the playoff equation on the final day. So those last 3 games, if they might be able to win them or take 7 points or something like that, which might give them a bit of a chance.
I'm not giving up on them.
Don't give up on them.
Don't give up on us, baby.
Top of the table, then. You were really keen to get into that.
Yeah.
You skipped over Jimmy's point about Carlisle. Who the hell's going to get promoted from League 2? My God.
I think the line's at Bromley in 12th. And it's not because I've had them to finish top 7. But just as you said, Gab, the form of the what is it, from County
down to 6th.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Walsall because they got points on the board, even though they're not in great form. I think it's going to be Bradford, and I think it's going to be one of the other four, maybe Doncaster, but I'm not massively sold on any of them.
Do you know my issue with Doncaster? Donny, I just mentioned it. They're brilliant against shite teams, but I think the record against the fellow big boys is absolutely honking, isn't it? I have no facts to back that up with, but in my head it seems right.
Well, they've got Rob Street on loan from Lincoln City, who's made an impact. They've got Luke Molyneux, who brings a bit of quality out wide. He's got a lovely left peg. They've got, I think, the best manager in League Two in Grant McCann as well, which is probably why I'd edge towards Doncaster over the others. I think that's what separates.
Look at Donny's running: Walsall, Wimbledon, Bradford, Colchester, Notts County, and even I'd say like Salford away. That's a tricky game if they turn up. That is killer.
I pulled it.
To be fair, yeah.
Top half teams, they've only won 3 against top half teams. They lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Lost 8, and then they've drawn 5. So 13, 15. They've won 3 of 15, which is not good enough.
Is it going to be Wimbledon then for top 3?
I love Wimbledon and I love their own form, but I think streaky Port Vale are going to do it. I think they're just coming to boil at right time. We talked about
Until midweek when they lost against Barrow. This is the thing that I would have said. Port Vale are just going to keep grinding it out, and then they lost at home to Barrow. So honestly, I agree with Gab. The top 2. I mean, they've got the distance now as well. They're gonna get there. I really believe, very similar to what we're talking about in the Championship, that Easter weekend is going to define what happens. Because if you can get 2 wins that weekend, it's probably going to get you up. Or get you in the playoffs. I think it's fantastic that it's so impossible to call, but it is really, really impossible to call.
Just an argument to add in there for Doncaster. They've got 2 of the best centre-halves in League Two in Joseph Olowu and Jay McGrath. Olowy's a very aggressive, athletic defender, and Jay McGrath just has this indestructible quality where it almost looks impossible to get past him. So I think that's a massive feather in their cap.
And they had a decent run about this time last season, didn't they?
Just a bit decent, yeah, even earlier. So on League Two, personally, I'm keeping my money in my pocket. Not only on the outrights, but I'm not going near it for putting anything in the Acca, not just because it feels very, very untrustworthy, as proved by, last weekend we managed to get 1 over the line, but then Wimbledon fell to pieces in the last few moments. But then even the team that ground out a win for us last week then had a shock home defeat a few days later. I look at the slate this weekend, and there's nothing really trustworthy there. Isn't really short.
Would you indulge my curiosity, Joe?
Go for it.
Who is the third favourite for promotion from League Two? Behind Walsall and Bradford, presumably.
Well, look,
I'd be intrigued to know who the...
Donny 4-7, League Two winner. Walsall 5.
What? Doncaster 4-7 for promotion?
Yep. 9-1 to win the league.
Wow, so we're talking about this as though like it's really even between those 4 teams, between 3rd and 6th.
They've got the game in hand, haven't they? That's what's coming.
Right, okay.
So sort of skewing it.
I'm amazed it's as short as 4-7, I must say.
You can get Crew at 1,500 to win the league.
What?
To win the league. Crew.
Let's get back on track here. We're talking about the Saturday games now.
Yeah, Saturday from League Two, I considered Doncaster based on their flat track bully record, but we've talked about Carlisle. They picked up. I wouldn't want to back against them. I've been stung. I got stung when I went against them at Bromley. Watched them against MK Dons. Thought they were brilliant at Carlisle. This is so it's a bit too short for me, Donny. The other one is perhaps Notts County, but again, I wouldn't want to be getting them on side because their performances have been pretty crap recently. And Newport, aren't they brilliant at home?
Yeah, horrible pitch, horrible conditions. Do you want to be going away to Newport when you're not in great form and you're trying to dig out results in the promotion race? And do we want to be backing them at 3-4?
Well, Newport's pitch is actually better. I think they used to have a horrible pitch at Rodney Parade, but they've actually relayed it a few years ago.
Fair play to the groundsman.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not. The reason I'm not sure about Newport is because they've been very clinical in the sense they've relied on Nick Townsend, the goalkeeper, and Bobby Camwa. So a lot of it's been on individuals. I can see why you might be reluctant to go for Notts County at 3-4. Maybe if it was a bigger price, I'd go with them. I do like Doncaster at 8-13 against Carlisle, though. But you're not willing to go for that.
I just think
The price.
there might be better options.
Yeah, there's so much jeopardy in League Two at the moment.
Okay.
That feels like a game where we'd be fuming with ourselves if that bust an Acca. Because everything we're talking about here is how untrustworthy this league is at the moment. So say that's even a draw, we'd be like, yeah, we could see that coming actually. Carlisle have shown plenty to have a draw, and everybody's bottling it at the top of League Two. Just feels best avoided.
Okay.
So we'll take a little break. We'll be back in a sec to have a close look at League One, where we do think there are plenty of teams there for us to pick up where we left off on this week's Acca. I'll just give you a little summary of where we got to, all from the Championship thus far. It's Portsmouth to beat Blackburn, that's 5-4. Burnley to beat Bristol City at 17-20, and Leeds to beat Swansea. A shorty, that one, but it does take us to a treble of above 4-1 for this week's Acca. Who do we think might win League One?
I think Birmingham City might win it.
And who do we think might get relegated from League One?
Relegated. I think it's going to stay as it is.
Who's bottom?
Where it's Shrewsbury, Cambridge, Crawley.
Only those teams were playing each other this weekend.
Wait a minute, they are playing each other.
Oh, come back to that in a minute, won't we? Where should we start then? We're looking at League One.
I think Birmingham City against Shrewsbury.
No, we'll start with actually looking at the league, if that's all right.
Sure.
Bit of a Frank Lampard there, wasn't it?
Never
Jimmy,
serious.
you have first go, mate. Then Birmingham are going to win the league. Looking at the bottom four, let's go there first.
Bottom four first.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? It's 6 points from Burton to safety Bristol Rovers. Bristol Rovers on 42.
We universal in bottom three are down.
Burton got a game in hand. The problem is Bristol Rovers, as we learned, well, we didn't learn it last week, but it was proven again last weekend, are atrocious on the road. So I don't know if they're 100% out of the woods yet. They are. The form at home is might be good enough to get them over the line, but I'm just pulling up their remaining fixtures. How many have they got at home? They got 1, 2, 3. They got 5 remaining at home. So I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is done. There's their fixtures.
So they got Mansfield, Birmingham, Exeter, Stevenage, and Red. I mean, that's other than Birmingham, that's a fairly favourable run of home fixtures, you would say.
Yeah, Mansfield got no to play for. Exeter should be on the beach. Stevenage already on the beach. Reading might still be in the playoff mix. Blackpool away on the final day. I don't know.
It's all over for me. Not just the bottom three, the bottom four.
Well, for Burton, Burton's, by the way, have still got to play 6 of the bottom 9.
So
6 of the top 9.
Yeah. So Burton have got Stockport away this weekend. Then Orient at home, Wrexham away, Huddersfield at home, Exeter away, who are on a brilliant run now, Birmingham at home. Then, they've got Cambridge at home. Yeah, they're probably going to be already relegated then, both of them. And Wigan at home, then Charlton away. That run-in is horrific.
Okay.
So, if they just had like a averagely hard run-in, I'd say Gary Bowye's done a great job. They've got a chance. But Bristol Rovers might only need to win one more game and get a couple of draws, and they'll be safe. The bottom three, for me, have got no chance. Burton are the only one with a glimmer of hope. If they can upset one of those teams in the next 3, it'll give them a chance to cling on. But Bristol Rovers have been so good at home that you only do need to win your home games to stay up.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think for Burton Albion, it's not just winning the 3 more favourable fixtures, which in itself is no given, but it's also can they take points where no one's expecting them to. That's the challenge for them. Gary Bowyer's done a great job, but it's just that they didn't pick up any points. I think it was 4 points from their first 9 at the start of the season. It was an awful return. Didn't get going really until the second half of the season, and that's left them in this
It's
position.
pretty much exactly the same situation as Cheltenham in League One last year. 0 points after whatever it was, 10 or 12 games. They get Darryl Clark in, does a great job, and then they get relegated in the last couple of matches. Hopefully for Burton, they can keep hold of Gary Bowie for next season, because they should be strong in what will be a fairly weak League Two, would have thought, next season. But there's every chance somebody will poach him because he's a very good manager. So, other end of the table, who's going up with Birmingham? Who's making the top six?
It's horrible.
I think again, it's really similar, isn't it, to
Yeah.
League Two, where I feel like I'm casting doubt at all the contenders to go up with us, rather than waxing lyrical about them, because as much as Wrexham have picked up 2 crucial victories over their immediate automatic promotion rivals in Wrexham and Stockport, performance-wise, I still think there's a question mark.
That's just classic Phil Parkinson, isn't it? He's been doing that since he took charge.
Yeah,
And that's since day dot.
Just
Since you were a babby.
yeah. I mean, I probably would lean towards.
Little Gab giggle.
Probably would lean towards Wrexham, but not wholeheartedly. But more in the absence of obvious contenders. I mean, I would have probably gone with Charlton, but then they were thumped by Peterborough at the weekend. So
Nobody saw that coming, though.
No.
Who saw that coming? Where's the line then? Because I wanted Stockport to make more of a fist of it, but they fell away as well. What is it? 9 points for them,
yeah, it's too big a gap at this stage, isn't it?
potentially.
I mean, even Charlton are 8 points off. So I mean, it's looking like Wrexham and Wickham, isn't it, as a 2-horse race?
Problem like Wickham, it would a terrible turn of the year, when it losing the gaffer, and Kone just went missing. I don't know. I still don't know where he went. Illness, injury. Kone's back.
Off about not getting his Luton move. You never know, do you?
No,
Not saying that's what happened.
You
I'm just
don't know.
saying it might. I don't know.
Speculate. But I look at Wickham, game in hand, 3 points, way better goal difference than Wrexham. 6 goals better goal difference than Wrexham.
But you've got to
They've
look
got
at
the best striker in the league.
But they've drawn themselves to death since Matt Bloomfield left as well.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's the problem. I also think that Wickham brought in 10 senior players in January, and I think that's destabilised things a little bit. And I think what Mike Dodds has got to do is go back to the template that they had under Matt Bloomfield, and return to that really, and sort of basically address the January recruits. Maybe just, make a decision on them in the summer, but not try to integrate them because it's just the wrong time. It's a run-in. You want to be, at this stage of the season, you want to be leaning on a template that's tried and trusted, that that can deliver in the high stakes.
And have you seen, Wickham's running, so they've got Lincoln and Shrewsbury, winnable.
Yeah.
Then they've got Reading, Huddersfield, Stevenage, Bolton,
I love how you
Charlton,
change your voice there.
Orient and Stockport.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Yeah, I changed my voice because Stevenage will be on the beach. Stevenage would be easy. But the other ones, so they've got three fixtures that are pretty winnable, but everyone else is against playoff promotion rivals: Reading, Huddersfield, Bolton, Charlton, Orient, Stockport on final day. That's brutal.
If you have to ask me who's the better coach between Phil Parkinson and Mike Dodds had some amazing reviews from people who have worked with him, and it's and I think there's a real attraction there. But he's unproven in senior football, and I think it's a really high pressure point for him to get his feet under the desk. So if you're asking me which manager in this promotion race, which looks like a 2-horse race, do I want to put money on, I would probably go with Phil Parkinson, but probably in the absence of a really serious alternative.
Yeah, I think it's that January, innit, that it's killed Wickham, and it probably be the difference for Wrexham. Who did they bring in? Sam Smith? Did they bring in another?
Jay Rodriguez, yeah.
Jay Rodriguez.
Yeah, and Jay Rodriguez scored the winner the other day, didn't
Sam
he?
Smith scored the winner the game before as well.
So it really is looking like the difference. Then, it's Wrexham's to lose basically now. But the weird thing about this point in the season for me is that it comes down to it being pretty much a match play situation week to week. So it'd be very interesting to see what it looks like come Saturday evening, because even this weekend you look at the matches and Charlton play at 12:30. It's a tough game against Huddersfield. Stockport play at 12:30 against Burton. They both win, and it still might be a small gap, but suddenly they've won by kicking off earlier. Wickham at home to Lincoln, that is not a straightforward match, and Wrexham, a very tricky away game at Exeter because they're in such good form. Then all of a sudden that just becomes a lot trickier. We'll come on to the playoffs in a moment because I am just wondering whether Wrexham, even money to win at Exeter, Wickham, similar price to win at home to Lincoln. Are these two matches that you two have been thinking about?
Yeah, I would probably go. I'd probably favour Wickham at home to Lincoln over Wrexham away at Exeter, because I think Lincoln City slap bang mid-table. I think they've had question marks over their form over the last 5 months or so. Michael Skabala hasn't quite been able to build on his brilliant work last season. Feels a little bit fragmented there. I think some of the great football that they played last season has gone out a window. They're certainly missing some key players from last season as well. So I don't think Lincoln City are going to be particularly strong opposition. So while I have those reservations about Wickham, I wouldn't be opposed to going with them at 19 to 20.
Yeah, it seems suspiciously big, to be honest. I've got them in my bet slip on my Acca I've built. But positive, Kone's back amongst the goals.
That's a huge, isn't it? Yeah,
he's massive, and I don't know since the managerial change and the poor form, if having the best striker in the league might just get them over the line. I don't know, but Lincoln's record against away at the teams above them, they are, as you say, 12. 7 games, they haven't won any. Lost 5 of those, and they've conceded at least 2 on 4 occasions. So if I could see Wickham scoring 2, and I could see him winning, and I do think the price got me because it was one of the first I just put in without thinking. Wickham, a shade of odds on at home to a team with very little to play for, and I feel like, is it there to trip us up? But based on the price, I don't see a reason. I can't think of a reason why.
Yeah,
Can I ask you, gents, a question?
Mm-hmm.
Are you slightly underwhelmed by the standard of League One in comparison with what we thought it was going to be this season?
not at all, mate, because I told you this at the beginning of the season while I was sitting in Aldi car park on the phone, having watched Barnsley last year, and then the season before, it's just got worse and worse each year, and I knew it would be this season.
Wow, okay.
Loads of teams of a similar ability, but nobody really that good below Birmingham.
Interesting. I was
It's going to
expecting
be a
the
struggle,
opposite.
I think, for the teams to stay up next season unless they've got serious investment outside of Birmingham. Just the gap's getting bigger between the Championship and League One. So
Yeah. I personally, I was expecting it to be locked, but I have to.
very
you were spot on.
very poor. 2 years ago, it was such a phenomenal.
Oh God, yeah,
Absolutely outstanding.
like Kieran McKenna's Ipswich finished 10th or something a few years ago,
Yeah.
and now it's.
So it's been a serious drop off. So yeah, I'd be on board with that. The price, similar to Jimmy, the price is what gets it for me. Even money that I would have Wickham to beat Lincoln. I mentioned this to Jimmy yesterday. I'd really push back against taking Wrexham to win at Exeter because Exeter's form since being knocked out of the FA Cup is outstanding, and they were brilliant in that game against Nottingham Forest, losing on penalties.
Joe, the
Since
logic.
that, it's fabulous. They got their brilliant defensive solidity back, and yeah, they've been superb. It's 1 defeat in 8 matches, barely given up a chance, picking up results home and away against good and poor teams. So yeah, I'd stay clear of that one.
Absolutely. Just wondering, based on the logic that you used to go with the 1-4 for Leeds United to beat Swansea, should we apply a similar logic for Birmingham City to beat Shrewsbury Town at 2-9? Because it's a very similar price, isn't it?
I would switch it. Are we more confident of Birmingham taking care of Shrewsbury or Leeds taking care of Swansea? Do we need both of them in?
I think Birmingham is likelier, but I wouldn't be opposed to having both in.
I wouldn't be opposed to having both in at all, to be honest. 5-fold it up, I'm pretty sure it'd be above 10-1. We don't have to make it above 10-1, but
if we...
To be honest, actually, Joe, before you did say that, out of the two, gun to my head, who you're more confident in winning, I'd go with Leeds for 2 reasons. The top of the Championship's more competitive, and the golfing quality between... actually, no, that's not true. I just think Leeds need to win. They're a slightly bigger price, although Birmingham, I fully expect to win. And it's one of them, it's short, but it's just... Like, if I need to do a last man team, I'm probably going to have Birmingham or Leeds. Do you know what I mean? They are going to win. I think both, to be honest. It's 1.5, I think, about the both. So
we push it. So if we put them both in, then as a 5-fold, that takes us above 10 to 1. So top of the market, it's about 10.5 to 1. If we didn't have Birmingham in, then it's 9 to 1 as a 4-fold. If we didn't have Leeds in and we just had Birmingham in, hope everyone's still following me saying that. And it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So we're looking at basically a 9 to 1 4-fold or a 10.5 to 1 5-fold. I just don't know whether it is worth the extra team for that.
You lost me a little bit. So
Yes.
who'd you take out to make it 9.5?
I don't think it makes much difference. The prices are so similar because it's 1 to 4 and 2 to 9 that you're looking at 8.75 to 1 and 8.9 to 1 as a top price. So really, with the enhanced price, we're going to get somewhere between 8.5 and 9 to 1.
My vote would be to go both.
That's not helping me.
I'm like I'm like a kid at picking my dessert. Yeah. I'm like, well, I want both.
But it is worth saying, right? With none of them in, £10, which is what we track it on the site, it's £76 back, should they all win.
Yeah.
With both of them in, it's 112.
Yep.
So in pounds and cents, in muggy Acca terms, 2 absolute certs, in betting terms, to win, you're getting almost 40 quid extra.
Right, here we go. So, do we think Birmingham to beat Shrewsbury at 2 to 9 is value?
Yeah. I had not in the traditional, but yes, but not in the traditional.
Do we?
I'd never go anywhere near anything like that normally.
What about Leeds to beat Swansea?
Never going anywhere.
And yet, in my column, I'm probably going to tip both of these teams to win to 0.
Yeah.
But you understand my turmoil?
I do,
here?
yeah.
You understand my turmoil? We're not talking in individual team terms. We're talking in an almost muggy Acca terms, which is a completely different thing.
Muggy Acca.
It's a muggy Acca. Acca's a muggy. This what we're doing is muggy. It's silly. it's look. It's whimsy. It's everything.
Fuck it. They're both going.
This muggy Acca's my cup of tea.
So do you know why they're both going in? Because if the one that we leave out, wins,
so stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the problem. So you've both fucked it now.
Right. Plan then, didn't
so we've got there in the end. This week's Acca, it's a 5-fold, much to my pain.
Hang on then.
In the Championship,
what would you do?
And League One. No, it's all good.
Tell us, because you're going to get back.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to back this 5-fold through Sporting Life at the enhanced price, and it is going to win. But I'm also going to back 274, but I'm not really. I probably will.
Got a plan. Tell us what you wanted to do, because you're gonna get upstairs and you're gonna be annoyed. Just take a minute and tell us what you wanted to do.
So I'm thinking, why don't we just stick to the 3-fold at 701? And then we do the other one. It's tricky, isn't it? Because if we think that those prices are too short, then why are we putting them in?
But you said at the beginning that you thought 1 to 4.
Oh yeah, but then we come round to it and you're looking at these other ones and you're like, oh, those, but they're a bit of value.
Do you know the thing is with me? Across the whole
changes your
season,
perception as you go through the podcast, doesn't it?
Across the whole season as well. If nothing, we've stuck to the value of the values of backing valuable teams.
Yeah.
And now suddenly we want 2 really short odds on prices. It doesn't feel right. But then at the same time, I've looked at the price and I want that extra 40 quid now. But come the end of the season, we're looking at this. At Leeds get chinned by an own goal in the 90th minute, and you think we've never
Was
done
it
that
worth
before.
it?
Was it
Yeah,
worth
you're like,
it?
was it worth it?
You got to stay true to yourself, haven't you? But stressful.
Yeah, this is stressful.
I'm probably gonna have the fivefold though at the same time.
Yeah, I want the fivefold.
Yeah, like myself personally, I'm probably gonna back it now. And I feel like the lines are blurred in terms of value when you're making an Acca, aren't you? You've got to find the happy medium between value, last man teams. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's a tough slate.
So, is that any closer to us deciding what we're actually doing or not?
Fivefold for me.
Fivefold.
Okay. So we're going to put these three in, and then we're going to put Barnet in at 1 to 2.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about
And then we're going to get on with our lives. What about that? Because then if we just put Barnet in at 1 to 2, we're on a fourfold at 10.
Oh, you're joking. After all that.
Well, I keep my trump card from Barnet for last week.
Oh, my God.
Barnet, the
What
form
about
team
Barnet?
of the National League against Gateshead, the team in the worst form of the National League.
Let's
I
go
already
with...
spoke to Jimmy about this on the phone yesterday, so...
Should we go with the sixfold? And
Then our loyal listeners can go to Sporting Life, and they'll also get the special sixfold that they can get to. Let me check that I'm not just saying absolute shit about. Yeah, I am right. It's what I said to Jimmy on the phone yesterday. Gateshead, bottom of the form table in the National League over the last 5 games. Barnet, top of the form table in the National League last 5 games. Barnet, top of the league by 11 points. Best home form in the league. Then we stick to fourfolds, which is what we should do. We've got the 1 to 2 team in.
but a fivefold with Birmingham and Leeds is at home is not the same as a fivefold with touch and go because they're both extremely likely.
Jimmy.
It felt like the weight of the world got lifted off my shoulders
With
when you
Barnet.
said Barnet. I was like, fucking hell, yeah, Barnet. What are they? A shade of 1 to 2 at home?
Yeah. We've just been told by our producer, Dom, fucking finish the pod.
I'll trust your judgment.
I'm calling it. Right, this week's Acca. I'd kept that up my sleeve 2 weeks in a row. Last week it got done because it was 5:30. This week's Acca. Portsmouth to beat Blackburn.
Yep.
Burnley to beat Bristol City. Wickham to beat Lincoln. And Barnet to beat Gateshead. A fourfold at bigger than 10 to 1. There will be, remember, a bigger Acca available when you go to sportinglife.com at 3 p.m. on Friday. So please go there. Sorry, 12 p.m. on Friday. Go there for an enhanced link. Remember, this is a podcast for 18s and over. Please gamble responsibly. Remember to like and subscribe on all of our social channels. Gamble responsibly. And if you decide in your own Acca on Saturday, please, God, decide it faster than we decided this week. But if it wins, it will have been worthwhile. We'll be back the same time next week. Thanks for listening. See you again next week.